here. Most of the ladies are here. I can see a lot of ladies. I was hoping that to see a lot of ladies to get this going. Thank you to Fairfax County, the entire team taking their time on a busy schedule, especially on Saturday, Sundays, and they are working on this for us. के भन्न चाहन्छु भने सबैजना हजुरहरूले के हेरिरहनु भएको छ भने अहिले इन्टरभ्यू हेर्नुभएका सबैजनालाई म प्रभा देउजाबाट नमस्कार छ सर्वप्रथम यो टपिक्स इज भेरी डिफिकल्ट टु टक अबाउट डोमेस्टिक भाइलेन्स हामीले के गर्ने कसो गर्ने कसरी रिसोर्सेसहरू लिने भन्ने कुरा आजको यो लेसनबाट सिक्नको लागि हामीले फेयरफ्याक्स काउन्टीबाट हामीले सब उहाँलाई लिएर आएको थियौँ सो हामीसँग उहाँ सीमा पनि हुनुहुन्छ स्कुल बोर्ड मेम्बर्स अनि हामीसँग इन्टायर टिम एज वेल एज हामीसँग हाम्रो एएनएचएसको लिडिङ लेडिज आर अल्सो हियर So this is very, very critical for our community. हामीसँग के छ कसरी युटिलाइज गर्ने कहाँ जाने कस्तो व्यवस्था छ भन्ने कुराको शिक्षा लिन धेरै नै जरुरी छ अहिलेको जमानामा अनि हामीले मोर एन्ड मोर हामीले चाहिँ डोमेस्टिक भाइलेन्स भएको चीजहरू देखिरहेका छौं So what I'm saying is I was letting everybody knows that we are seeing massive numbers of domestic violence cases right now. So it is critical for all of us to gasp for everything and learn. So that way, if you see anything, say anything, and where do we go? That was the program all about, like sharing it. So that हामीले जे सिक्छौं, हामीले आफ्नो भएको घटना भनेर हामी आउनुपर्ने जरुरत छैन। नभएको मान्छेले पनि सिक्न जरुरत छ। किनभने तपाईसँग बसेको छेउछाउमा बसेका मानिसहरूलाई पनि यो इम्पोर्टेन्ट भइरहेको छ अहिले। हामीले जे सिक्छौं त्यो सिकाउन जरुरी छ। So if you see something, say something भन्ने चाहिँ एउटा च्यानलाइज गर्नुपर्ने जरुरत भएको छ. So please, let's start the program. Seema, would you like to say some few words regarding all of your Fairfax County Board and so on?
So, hi everyone, my name is Seema Dixit and I'm the Sully District School Board member. I represent all the area like Centreville, Chantilly, and my counterpart is actually Supervisor Kathy Smith, which you probably all know. So I came here and because we got invited, so thank you so much Prabha for that because sometimes we don't know what's going on in the community and it was so close to my home. So Centreville is my home for the last 20 plus years. I've lived here and so I wanted to come and before I want to go into like listen to all the experts, I want to share about an organization I have co-founded a few years ago. It's called Women Empowerment Foundation. And the organization actually supports women going through domestic violence and abuse. We have supported more than 15 women across the years. And mostly we do is counseling to, taking them to the courts, getting the protective orders. We have some legal counsel available as well. And anything, like if they need food, if they need shelter sometime, we provide, we have connections or we do temporary housing for them. So we have some resources, not a lot, because we are still a young organization, but it is made with very passion of women from the Indian community. And I say this because a lot of cultural barriers come in when women have to going through something. And like many community, divorce is a taboo topic in our community, and people do not want to go through that. So a lot of women suffer in silence. A lot of women are dependent on H-1B or H-4, like a dependent visa, so they don't know their rights. Literally, they're told that if you're going to go to police or any other resources, you will get your visa suspended and you will be deported back. There's a lot of misinformation in the community and with those women. So I'm here to learn more and get educated myself, and also to share this back with my own organization. We have more than 50 volunteers, and we are continuously, doing 1, 2, 3 cases at a time. But there's a lot more to do, so that's why I'm here today.
Thank you, Seema, so much. Just wanted to let you know the organization's hours are also BKP Tender Heart Foundation, and this organization is the one sponsoring this event. So our organization is also equally working on this pathway. Now, उहाँले भन्नुभयो हामीसँग H-1B को visa, dependent visa मा बसेको हुन्छ, तैँले के पनि पाउँदैनस् भनेर भन्छन्. So all of these are false accusations, false. So there is a way to do a lot of other stuff भन्ने कुरा हामीले बुझ्न एकदमै जरुरी छ. तपाई एक्लै हुनुहुन्न.
तपाईँ एक्लै छैन भनेर बुझ्नुहोस् कि तपाईँको लागि अरू पनि धेरै अर्गनाइजेसन सपोर्ट छ जस्तो सीमाको अर्गनाइजेसन फेयरफ्याक्स काउन्टी हेज लट्स अफ रिसोर्सेस सेल्टरदेखि लिएर हाउसिङदेखि लिएर फुडदेखि लिएर रेन्टदेखि लिएर सबै पाउनुहुन्छ तपाईँले तपाईँ जबसम्म चाहिँ स्ट्यान्ड आफ्नो खुट्टामा हुनुहुन्न तबसम्म तपाईँलाई छोड्दैन सो प्लिज मेक स्योर टु युटिलाइज दिस थिङ उहाँले भन्नुभयो यु हेभ लट्स अफ सपोर्ट फ्रम डिफ्रेन्ट अर्गनाइजेसन्स हामीले पनि त्यही गरिरहेको छौँ अहिले हाम्रो कम्युनिटीलाई हामीसँग पनि त्यस्तै मान्छेहरू धेरै आइरहेका छन् त्यो आइरहेको भएर हामीले एकदमै यो चाहिँ सेयर गर्न जरुरी भएको हुनाले आज यो इभेन्ट क्रिएट गरेको सो वाट सी सेज इज वी क्यान कोलाबोरेट देयर इज लट अफ रिसोर्सेस द्याट वी क्यान गो इन्टु others organizations to get help. And these are there, and all the ladies are here. So thank you so much. Now I'm going to start from Fairfax County to come and join.
Good morning, everyone. Nice to see all the beautiful faces. My name is Tervaya Hussein. Work with an organization called Centreville, but I also am an official volunteer with Fairfax County Domestic and Sexual Violence Department. Rise and Rebuild work closely with the survivors of domestic violence through all the stages, if they're in the violence or they're leaving the violence or sometimes they experience violence after they got out of the violence. That being said, I myself went through domestic violence in my marriage, and that's what inspired me to learn and to go outside and understand the situation I've been through, the effect that happened to my children and to me, and how to get out of it. Through that process, went through learning, and I was helping people without me knowing because I understood what they were going through, and that's led me eventually to get the training, get the information, and be able to help people in the community, better. So I'm happy to be here today. I'm happy to be of help. And if there's any questions, and I just want to follow up regarding the visa matter they were talking about. I had many clients who did not have visa status, were abused because they didn't have visa status. They get helped, and they get organizations like AYUDA and different organizations who help them specifically get their residency in the United States if they're like victim of domestic violence or sexual violence. So there is a help, there is a way out of this. We're just going to talk about briefly about domestic violence and what it is and sexual and how to understand it and stuff like that. And we're not going to take a long time because we want to open the floor for questions and answers. I don't know if there's a way also to get questions online.
Sure.
If there's any questions also online, I would be more than happy to help inshallah and answer those questions. So, what is the domestic violence? If I ask this question, who can answer that question? I just want to hear when I say the word domestic violence, what comes to people's mind? Mental abuse, verbal abuse, financial abuse, verbal abuse. Anything else? Fear. So I've heard mental abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, mental abuse, financial abuse, social abuse,
And isolation. Isolation is the part of social abuse.
What else?
I think of the setting too. When I think of domestic violence, I think it's mainly in the home or private space,
Indeed.
public.
Okay.
They're very good at covering themselves.
Isolation. Part of
Yeah,
isolation.
they're very, very good at covering themselves. They have two faces. Inside the house versus outside. They're perfect outside, but inside they are devil.
Manipulation. I heard the culture also. Yeah? Culture, social, yeah, culture, social. How about spiritual?
Spiritual. Oh,
It's
yeah.
a big one. Using taking the scripture out of context to tell me like, you're the devil, you're the one you're the problem. Yeah? Gaslighting. Gaslighting, there's another one, which is a new to this generation, new due to technology.
Social media.
Yeah, which is, we call it also like technical abuse. Like you can track them, you can put cameras everywhere, you can use and belittle them on social media and stuff like that. Control. Yeah. So that's a good word. I heard control. So abuse is about control. That's it. Abuse is about control. I don't like to go to all the like it's rooted in power, control dynamics. Yeah. Abuse often escalates gradually and may be normalized in some culture.
I think when we talked about this, I wanted to make sure the media also looks at this. तपाईँहरूसँग कति अब्युजहरू हुन्छन्, डोमेस्टिक भाइलेन्स हुन्छन्, सेक्सुअल अब्युज हुन्छन्, मेन्टल अब्युज हुन्छन्, फाइनेन्सियल अब्युज हुन्छन् र साथसाथै तपाईँलाई कन्ट्रोल गरेर हुन्छ। त्यो एकदमै जरुरी छ। डोमेस्टिक भाइलेन्स के हो भनेर तपाईँलाई सेक्सुअल अब्युज मात्र गरेको होइन, तपाईँलाई डोमेस्टिक भाइलेन्स गरेर पिटेको मात्र होइन, त्यहाँ हरेक चिजको रुख छ, ट्री छ, त्यो हरेक ट्रीमा एक एक चिज हुन्छ। सो त्यो चाहिँ बुझ्न जरुरी छ हजुरहरूले। I'm just sharing this.
Thank you. So we said it's about control. So it's okay. We move to the next one. Right?
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. So the control is actually, it could be through all of this. So that the goal of the abuse is not these. These are the ways that users use them to gain that control. So remember, like sometimes we have discussions in the family, bigger discussions, some incident happens. If it's not like a pattern of those incidents, it doesn't mean that's abuser, it means we're humans, yeah?
Yeah.
But if those type of abuse are going on, doesn't matter what they are, physical, emotional, verbal, all types of abuse, financial. To gain that power, so I can control you, that's what we can call abuse. So it's a pattern. We can go to the next. So, domestic violence in migrant community. Yeah. It's a heavy topic. Because in migrant community, my experience is there is denial. There is a big denial that, no, we're perfectly fine, we're people with values, we know what we can get for, we love each other, we support each other, I do it because I love my family. I hear all of the above. Yeah. So it makes it harder because of the culture, like we talked about earlier, culture abuse. And if you are trying, I have cases that when one of the family trying to get out of that abuse, they became isolated, the whole community isolated, like there are the problems. Yeah, so that's like feed into the abuse and make it a very complex problem because we are not helping. The person is already tough, who was going through that. This is already a person who's going through that. And if they reach out to somebody in the community, and the community tell them like, oh, go and this is normal, be a good wife or be a good child, because abuse, one of the things that I did not mention yet, that I have to mention at the beginning, abuse happens to everyone. There is intimate partner abuse, which is between husband and wife, but there's also abuse happening to elderly, parent, old people in the family. Abuse can help children, can happen to children of the family. Abuse can be between co-workers. Abuse can be any people who have that relationship, like that intimate relationship, or that they see each other. It can happen with boyfriend, girlfriend at school. It can happen everywhere. So it's not just as we think of it, it's just in marriage. It can happen between friends. It can happen between siblings. So when we talk about abuse, it's not just the intimate partner. Intimate partner abuse is usually the most violent one, but there is abuse that can happen to anybody. So why it's underreported due to fear of deportation and the language barrier. This is a big one. A lot of people have misunderstanding that, my status is going to be affected if I report it. Actually, quite opposite. Some people who doesn't have status at all, they got status because of the situation they're in. They get a visa. I had a family who were kidnapped from Jordan. The husband, a pilot, came here, throw them in a house. You just throw food to them, leave them alone, go. suddenly when they swapped, they came and they took the husband, the wife was looking for help walking. She doesn't have a car and everything. She doesn't speak the English language. She's walking, asking everybody to turn her down. I remember she walked 2 hours to that mosque, and someone finally gave her my number, called me, and when I came, it's like, she said that was the last resort for her. After that, she was just gonna give up. And that lady and her 3 kids are now being in the shelter for 2 years, and her and 3 kids have green cards. They're working, and now they're working on housing. So this is never an issue. When you reach for help, you will get that help. Yeah, so. But unfortunately, in our community, language is a barrier, and the fear of relocation is a barrier. This is a big one too. People doesn't understand the law and regulation in the United States, and most of the time they hear wrong information and they just believe it. They just take it as it's as it is. They ask people in the community, and then just because they've been in the United States for 20, 30 years, it doesn't mean those people have the ability to give you right information. You have to ask. They have to go to the resource to get the information. Don't just ask people in the community because, she's from the Nepali community, she's been here 30 years in the United States. Doesn't mean she knows the laws. Doesn't mean they understand the laws specifically, toward that issue. You have to go and ask experts. You can ask, who knows about this matter? Search, do your research, who I can ask. Do a simple research. And hopefully the Nepali community, there is, beautiful leaders, they reach out to them and they can connect you with resources. Yeah. The financial dimension, this is across all types of abuse. Usually the victim is dependent on the person who actually, the abuser. So that's actually also a barrier, but there is help for that. We talk about this, how the pressure happened from the community to not report it or not talk about it or not seek help. This is normal in the community. You're gonna expose our community, you're gonna make us look like bad, and they're gonna look at us like we're like, a violent community, and and they pressure the person not to report it. We spoke about this briefly, but we want to talk about examples now, when we understand it more deeply. So, physical abuse, who can give an example?
Physical abuse can be torture, bruises, hit, punch, pull, push, choking, yes.
It could be also deprivation of food and water. Yeah, it could be kind of putting that person in house arrest and then allowing them to get out of the house.
Yep. And it is visible.
Yeah.
So doing it in front of kids who are seeing this firsthand that the parent is getting abused or mother, they are also scared because they're also going through it technically while as a second-hand abuse, but it's a trauma for them for life.
It is. We call them witness of domestic violence, which is affecting directly. They become either abusers or victims in the future. That's when keep the cycle repeating. That's a different thing. And that's when people say, I'm staying because of my kids. They're actually quite opposite. They're destroying their children. They're not helping their kids. Yeah. So, can we go back? No. Go forward. I'm sorry. Yeah. So you can see the manipulation. That's emotional. Can you go back to the physical? Yeah. So yeah, destroying poverty, blocking exits. That will be said like using weapons. This is all part of physical. It's not just the slapping and hitting and the normal scratching and choking, which usually leads to death. Most of the strangulation is the number one leading death, homicide among the domestic violence. People who go through domestic violence.
A lot of women told us that while they were calling 911, their phone was snatched away.
Yes.
So that's like another physical abuse that they would take the phone, break the phone.
Prevention, yes, from access to, yes, we can go. Yeah. So emotional, psychological. Who can make me? I mean, no cheating.
Emotional abuse
worst form of abuse. Because we cannot share what the other person is feeling. And that is the only person knows what they are feeling. And anytime there's emotional abuse, because of all the gaslighting, it creates more problem to the other person. And the person who's the person who's the victim cannot share anything because she's covering up everything because of the community. And no one can speak up because no one sees the pain, how damaged the person is going through. And that is what I feel sometimes. Like, I see a lot of women who are coming forward, but they don't have anything to show, but they are in pain.
Yeah. And that's we say that there is two routes for domestic violence, which is the physical abuse that really you can see and you can easily report it, yeah? And that could lead to homicide, or like a person getting killed, yeah? The other route, which is the emotional, mental abuse that being done, secretly and done to the person by themselves and nobody else can see those scars, that could lead to suicide.
And people don't see that part.
Yeah. So it goes to escalate until lead to suicide, the higher escalation. But many times it leads to mental health issues too. You can see the persons are going through depression. After depression, they go through, exhibit different mental illnesses, schizophrenia. I see many cases that lead to that. So that's the dangerousness.
So what you said about the mental health thing, so we have seen cases where constant abuse like this, and the person starts like acting differently, their mind is working wired, gets like confused, and then they're told that they are insane, that they are the problem. And one of the cases, the woman was admitted to a mental facility and she lost access to her child because she was told that she's not sane anymore. That's happened a lot because they work on that and making you look like you're a crazy person, and then it leads to actual mental health issues. But sometimes the person is just traumatized. Yes.
There's a difference between I'm exhibiting a mental health issue or I'm actually going through trauma. That's why we had to be trauma informed to people when we talk to someone, we understand they're going through trauma. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. Yeah, because they are going through that pain, they're going through that abuse, and they're not gonna sometimes, sound okay. Like any victim of sexual violence or victim of domestic violence, if you come and sit down and talk to them while they're going through that abuse and they're exhibiting that trauma, then they're gonna make sense. Not necessarily because they have mental health issue, because they're traumatized, they're going through that trauma.
But remember, that is manipulating. That is I gotta say this. The problem is that they are planned to do that to all of the women, right? The first topics was all about control. उनीहरूले कन्ट्रोल गर्छ पहिला हामीलाई, होइन? कन्ट्रोल गरेपछि के गर्छ? तिमी मेन्टली इल भयो भनेर छोडिदिन्छ। तिमी मेन्टली इल भएपछि तिमीले बच्चा पनि हेर्न पाउँदैनौ, तिमीले के पनि गर्न सक्दैनौ। You became the bad person. Yeah, that is the game that they play, right? So हामीले चाहिँ त्यसरी हेर्दैनौँ कि अब हामीले के गरौँ कि हामीलाई कम्युनिटीले हेल्प गर्छ कि नो, देयर इज अ रिसोर्सेस भनेर त्यो हुनुभन्दा अगाडि नै कसैले तिमीलाई ग्यास लाइट गरिरहेको छ कन्स्टेन्टली, तिमीले बिग्रिया तनी होस् कहीँ होस् भनिरहेको छ भने देयर इज समथिङ रङ. You can't control anything on your own. So you gotta get the resources. I'm sorry, this topic is really,
it's okay.
kind of gets me because I've been dealing with a lot of people, and I feel like mental abuse is people doesn't see that. People doesn't see the inner self. Doesn't matter. The woman can try to be positive as much as they can, and you try to help and hold and be painless, but deep inside that person is tearing down, and no one sees that pain. And still the community bullies those people. And that is the problem we see. And that is where we, as a woman, need to step up and say, hey, listen, well, yeah, there's the resources to uplift each other, but we drag ourselves down.
And there is actually resources also for the abusers. We have classes for accountability, holding those people who do abuse accountable. out for help, that it's the end of your marriage. Sometimes it is, but if you reach in early stages, that can save your marriage actually. When it comes to marriage, you know, when it comes to children or younger children, if you notice yourself that you are forgetting a pattern you saw before in your family, and you need help not to repeat that pattern, there is also help for you. There is therapy, there is extra provided for you through the county. Reach for help. It doesn't mean right away when you reach for help, like issues will happen. People think that always like, oh, if I reach for help, that's mean I'm gonna lose my kids, I'm gonna do this, and then this is gonna happen, because most of the time they hear that from the abuser, that there's a greater consequence is gonna happen. Yeah, they like to, like, they hear those lies and they internalize it and they believe it. But in the early stages you reach for help, it prevents bigger problems. But most of the time people wait until it's like going to that higher level of not being safe, not physically and mentally, a person is not safe. They start exhibiting like suicide and ideas, suicidal ideas, and they're already in the stage of but seeking help in the early stages is really, it does help, and there is help for both. There is help, we help many families who also want to stay together. If the abuser is willing to get the education and willing to get the treatment, then, you know, there is help. But in severe cases, if we waited until it reached that and become severe and the other person is not willing to get help, then, I mean, again, the choice is clear for the person to take, you know.
But at least we tried.
Yes, and, you know, and it's your choice if you want to stay and fight or you want to go, and the person who live in that situation are the expert of their life. And nobody else can be the expert. You're the expert. All we can do through that training and education is giving you the tools to help you understand what you can, you know, do, where you can go for help, what resources are there for you. But actually, the decision is yours. Nobody can force you to decide. It's not important, because that's, again, it's going to be a control tool. And nobody should control what you're going to do with your life. Yeah. So we can say like it's isolation from friends. We talk about it. The community, threats to harm self or harm survivors. Like, oh, I would kill myself if you left me. I would cut my whatever if you left me. You know. If something happened to you, no, it's because of you. You're the reason. I'm like this. You're the reason I'm sick. You know. Of course, the insult and humiliation, intimidation, threats, name calling, manipulation, gaslighting. Making the gaslighting, it leads to making the survivor doubt the reality. Who knows the story of gaslighting? This no, that was very who knows the story, the original story of the word gaslighting? I love to tell this story because it helps you understand the term exactly. Okay, so I guess I'm going to tell the story.
You can.
The story is about a husband and wife who lived in the house together, and part of the emotional, mental controlling of the husband towards his wife, they used to that time have a gas light, which is for the gas, for the gas. And that husband decided every day for the gas, like take some of the gas, so the lights become they dim the lights every day slowly. Every day the light slightly get dimmed, slightly. And then I come and tell him and ask him, like, do you think the lights are getting dim? Like, I don't think the lights are bright enough like yesterday. He's like, no, this is just in your head. They are the same. And he kept doing that every day, lowering the lights every day and getting dimmer until it became darker. And she's like, it's dark. It's like, no, it's in your mind. Everything is the same. Everything's normal. Everything is the same. It's in your mind. I think you're going crazy. I think you need to get help. So, I mean, you can see, that's what gaslighting came from, that word. And it means that make the survivor doubt the reality. It leads to that. Because when I tell you, like, oh, you catch them doing something, it's like, you're doing this to me. No, I'm not doing it. You're doing it. So in your mind, you're thinking that it's because of you. So I'm gaslighting. I'm making you take the blame for what I do. And then you start thinking like, what is this? Right from wrong? What am I doing? Is it me? Is it him? You start doubting everything. You start thinking that you're crazy, you know, and he's tolerating it because she's tolerating, because abuse can happen to men too. A lot of men go through abuse and they don't talk about it because they feel ashamed. There is a stigma around that men cannot be abused, but there is a lot of men going through abuse. Yeah. So that's what gaslighting comes from. This word is really heavy. It's we blaming the other person, and we make them doubt the reality.
No matter what you do, they will blame you.
Yeah, we can go to the next one. Who can give me? Verbal abuse is easy.
Screaming, yelling, that's, all the time.
I don't want you to choose that.
But I would say it's verbal abuse can be what he believes or she believes, and how the reaction can be, right? So the verbal abuse can be choice of word. Verbal abuse can be someone kind of creating the problem, but this was not a problem, but created a problem and started yelling and screaming and tantrum. Now that person became a child, and the person has to back off.
Yeah, it's kind of blaming or shaming. That's what you're talking about. Just blaming or shaming. Yeah, and blaming you on things that is not necessarily your fault, is my fault. Shaming you, like, oh, if you did that, shame on you, you're not following the tradition, you're not following the religion, you're not following this, you're not following that, and that's gonna make you a bad person, making you believe that you're the bad person. Constant criticism that damages self-esteem. You're stupid. You never know how to do anything right.
Laugh, smile at things that you feel so pathetic.
You cannot learn anything. You're unteachable. You cannot live alone. You cannot be independent. You can. Without me, you're nothing.
Make you feel so stupid.
It's work also in this kind of verbal abuse. It's just work in your mental and emotional. It's like, yes, I'm not touching you with anything, but that's actually kind of inside. I'm beating you inside. I'm bringing you down inside. You feel like you're helpless. You see sometimes people sitting and accepting that situation, and it's like, why are they like that? Because they already internalize those verbal abuse, and they already believe that. They're stupid, they're worthless, they're helpless, they cannot do anything. They start internalize it and believe it, and they're just make peace with the reality. They cannot. They feel like they're helpless, literally. Even though from outside we see like this is easy to get out of. Like, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you? And inside there's not like that. Inside for them it's a totally different story because of what they have to go through.
This actually will work against the women sometimes who are the victim, anybody who is victim, because what they do, they'll instigate the person, and then when you say something bad, maybe somebody's yelling at you, you have to increase the volume, right, to talk to them, they record it. And those are used and against the person. So we advise all the women we work with, like, don't lose your patience, like, because that's gonna be against in the court saying, oh, she's abusing me actually, not me. Look at all the recording, because women don't think about recording. So we also tell them, you record too.
Yeah, it's easier said than done though.
I know,
It's easier said than done. You try to educate the survivor all the time, but when they're like in that mental state, they're in that mental state.
And also,
it requires a lot of
on the circumstances, like what I'm seeing is that when you have a child, when somebody's instigating you, you ask a question, you have to answer it, right? And when you answer it, you became the blamer. And now you are gaslighted by somebody else, but the blame is the woman constantly. And when you address the problem, you became the bad. So it's the story twists so fast that the victim cannot even have time to record. And then everything in your head, because again, verbal abuse starts because they are controlling your mind. But when you become stubborn, they can't control your mind and they lose that. Then they start taping it. So yes, I do the same thing. I have asked many women not to be pushed, just watch.
But that's why the education comes hand in hand, like you being there to give the victim resources. They have somebody who know what to tell them, how to do it is very important.
Yes.
Yeah. So we can go to the next one. Sexual abuse.
Oh man.
Who can tell me about it? Can sexual abuse happen between husband and wife?
Absolutely.
No means no. A lot of people think about many different pictures of marriage or something like there's no such a thing as
What is that?
rape. Okay, so when I say sexual abuse, what comes in your mind?
Oh man.
Forcing themselves.
I know it's a heavy topic, but I mean the participation of the community is very important because I want you guys to understand and comprehend. This is like a short time to give you guys like a small snapshot of every. It's a big topic, so I'm just trying to leave you guys with something that help you understand the matter. So, what is coercion? Pressure, that's coercion.
Convincing someone.
Manipulating.
Pressuring them. Making them feel if they didn't do it, then, like they're bad people. It's their fault. Using the spiritual also, like religiously taking things like, oh, the wife has to be good for the husband. Or using any kind of other pressures to force themselves into a person. Or also, the big one, the reproductive. You cannot, I want child. You had to have children, you had to continue to have child. Now, you cannot use family planning, contraceptions. You can't. Yeah, it happens. It happens to me too. Yeah, it happens. You can't. They deny your access. This is against their religion. Oh, you cannot do that.
And there's a lot of other women going through that sexual abuse.
Yes.
Because it's because it's on a closed door, they can't talk about it.
So any sexual acts, including not necessarily the person forcing himself, but sometimes it's force them to take pictures and take videos and put it online. This can happen to children, to the wife, to the husband, whatever. Sometimes it's inserting objects into the private areas, and, rectum, stuff like that. Anything that sexually exploit the person is considered as an act of sexual abuse, not necessarily just rape.
I think women get also scared that they'll say no, that the person will say, I'm going to leave you and, divorce you. And a lot of, like I said, divorce is like a taboo, topic. So sometimes, women do it just because they want to continue the marriage.
Yes, sometimes forcing you to sleep with some other people for money or just for control. I'm talking about real cases. Yeah, so it's not just classic sexual abuse like rape. This is all type of abuse that we've been seeing. Sexual abuse. Yeah, it could also happen to a lot of people. That happen to men, women, children, elderly, people with disabilities. Yeah, you have to pay attention to that. It's a big topic also. It's happening a lot, also in college campuses, high schools, middle schools. And one of the cases I remember was my child's school, elementary school, when a young kid, 6th grader, put an object into a private area for a young girl in school, in the bus. careful also what our children get exposed to. You never know, like online and also in the house too. Yeah. I know it's a heavy topics, but we have to be aware of sexual abuse as a whole. We have a whole training, 16 hours about only sexual abuse, because it's a whole different realm. It could be, it's considered a form of domestic violence, because most of the time, the domestic violence or sexual abuse in statistics most of the time happen from people you know. Sexual abuse happen to people that you trusted, you brought into your home, to watch your children, your neighbors, your whatever, like your cousin, your family. I don't know specifically, I think it's like 70% at least of sexual abuse happen from people we know. At the party? Yeah.
Where you guys are enjoying it,
Yeah.
but kids are somewhere else,
Yeah.
and we are not aware of what's going on, and that's happening more and more. And we don't talk about it, and we figure out why kids are going through crazy. But there is a reason, because they can't come forward. So this is a situation in a lot of community.
And sometimes kids could be, threatened by the adult not to share.
That's the case happening with children. Yes, with children. And I want you to know, in United States, again, it's a law. Anything happen like domestic violence or sexual violence happen to a minor, it's against the law. It's automatically a case, a criminal case, because it's a minor.
Yes.
For adults, it's a different case. For adults, they can choose to, have it as a criminal case or not. But for minors, it's automatically a criminal case. It's against, it's a crime. And sexual or domestic violence against children, it's a crime. And even if the parent doesn't want it to be reported toward the other parents, it does not work like that. It's automatically a crime. And domestic violence in general is a crime. But unfortunately, sometimes as people, like as adults, we can choose, like, we want to prosecute. There is a way. I want to prosecute the person and hold him accountable legally, or I don't want to hold him accountable, but still there is a different way. If it's not a legal way, there is a different way. We can work with you. We can work with you to be safe and move forward, and that person get held accountable, and not necessarily through the legal route. It could be. So though a lot of victims, they say, like, oh, I don't want him to go to jail. I don't want to whatever, or her. I don't want her to go to jail or whatever. So there is also a route for that. But again, as children, that's a crime. Yeah,
That's a whole different world.
yeah, that's a whole different. There is also the
sexual abuse in the workplace. In
Yes.
the workplace.
Yes.
Especially when
Yes.
those whatever.
Yes. Indeed.
So when you can get fired. Let's go
Yeah.
for dinner.
Yeah. That's a big one too.
You
at
can
workplace.
be promoted. Whatever they are.
Sadly, that's a big one. Workplace is a big one. Yeah. And there is a human trafficking too. Yeah, you can get trafficked through your partner. Sometimes your husband or your wife is the one who trafficked you. Your parents are the one who trafficked you. It's not always the person. Yeah, there's cases like that. Yeah, there is many cases like that. There is, yes, the trafficking, like the human trafficking gangs in schools and stuff like that. That's a whole different thing. But also, most of the time you get trafficked through people you know, your friends, family, parent, partner, husband, wife. Yeah. Online, in person, different type of sexual trafficking. Different type. You can be selling your body online, or you could be selling your body in person. You can traffic the person. The drugs you can sell at one time, but you can sell the same person one day more than 10 times. That's a profitable thing. So it's a trend now. Yeah, it's a heavy topic, but sadly it's going on and it's increasing a lot. So that's part. I'm not going to talk more than that, because domestic violence, sexual violence as a whole, as I said, 16-hour training. At the end, if anybody, I'm going to leave their sources, if anybody's interested to take the 16 hours domestic violence, 16 hours sexual violence training with Fairfax County, I recommend it, because that will help people understand a lot and how to help each other in the community. We can move to the next one. The financial abuse. Who can give me an example of financial abuse?
You already have everything. Everything is controlled.
No access to.
I want like examples because I want people to understand, to see. Because we can talk in general, but when we talk of the specific examples, it helps people understand that what I'm going through is actually
Absolutely, absolutely. Financial abuse is, you will be working, but your money has to go through him. You give everything to the person. You cannot do that.
That's a form of also a very famous one. Sometimes we think the woman, she's a doctor, she's an engineer, she's a nurse, she's whatever, and she's actually making money, she's independent, but he actually control that money for her. That's a form of, the check goes to his account, and he can give her like small amount of money so she can pay for gas and stuff like from her own check. That's one of the forms of financial abuse. What else?
I think this is most common too because in the immigrant community because women, a lot of 1H4 ones don't work. And it is very easy to like, they don't add to the bank account, no credit card, no, like just giving cash literally, like you said, for just getting like groceries, here you $20. So I remember one woman said that I would get like $10 to get like threading done. And that's all I would get as allowance, like that's once a month. So it was like controlling everything and giving groceries what they want to cook. So they won't even give money for buying groceries like this. This is what you need to cook, and I'll get everything. You need to go buy anything. So it's a big one actually.
Yeah, use. Who else could give me an example of financial abuse?
And they're not allowed to go anywhere else inside the house. So which means they have the control. Again, comes to the controlling because the financial is controlled by them, mental is controlled by them. There is no family support. You can't talk to anybody because then you are messed up. You're shamed.
That's a big one in the migrant community, preventing the survivor from working and going to school or even learning the language. That will prevent them from getting that help and learning any opportunities about jobs and how to make money, because that's going to lead to independence. That's a big one in migrant community that I see. Yeah.
And when you have kids, you cannot even do any of those because you have now more control over.
There is a way when you have kids, but when they prevent you from knowing the language or going to school or going outside to ask for opportunities, you're not going to know that there is a help when you have a child, there is a child care.
Yes.
You want to work and if you need that, yeah? But big part of it I see in the migrant community that the isolation and not allowing the person when they come to the United States to go and learn the language and to understand how I can integrate in the community, how I can get help if I need help, that part of the control, that preventing them from being financially independent, yeah? Or getting that. You have a question?
No, I'm just gonna add this community.
No, go ahead.
I was saying, something I think about too is like I've heard so many cases where like the woman, obviously typically the woman, like she doesn't know how to drive. She doesn't know, like maybe her kids go to school and they take the bus and she might know where the bus stop is, but even then like there's prevention in terms of like you don't even know how to leave your house. You're just at home because your partner or whoever controls the money. So like it's so much more than just like it's even worse than I get an allowance to go to like it's also they don't even know how to drive, they don't know how to go, they don't have directions, they don't have access or understanding of like the world outside of Texas because of the control. Sorry, just to like
Because it's a new environment. I'm bringing somebody from a different environment, different language, bringing them to this environment, and then controlling them not to understand that I'm a new environment. So of course I cannot be able to leave the house, I cannot be able to do anything alone because I don't understand this new environment, and that person is preventing me from understanding that environment. So he can control me. And that's actually what happened. That's actually most of the time what happened in migrant community. I see also like Americans go marry overseas, from some people overseas bring the wife here, or the husband here, so they can control them. Yeah? Yep. It's a famous form of abuse, like I said. Like I'm bringing bringing someone who completely not familiar with this environment. Put them in an environment, they don't have family, they don't have support system, they have nothing. It's intertwined. You see, it's a topic that it leads, yes, to the control, but it could be all of this type of abuse, like they cross together. Yeah, to lead to that control. And then, of course, they never add any spouse or to the bank account or to the money, like a lot of people mentioned, to have access to the money to buy basic necessities. Yeah, so you cannot do anything. You cannot move a step without that person. Yeah. Is withholding also the basic necessity of money, which is what we say, creating financial dependence. That what we mentioned also. That lead to financial dependence. You cannot do anything without that person. You can go. Migrant-related abuse. We talk about this, threatening to cancel visa, withholding passport, legal documents. This is also big in the migrant community where the survivor or the victim does not know where's their passport, where's their where's their school paper, yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, so sometimes we tell the survivors, like, if they're leaving, at least to take a picture of their documents if they know what it is, so we can easily to reissue documents for them when they leave. Because they don't have access, sometimes they don't even see that documents, they don't know what it is. Yeah. Yes, that's a big one. As we say, like, part of why I isolate you and not allowing you to know what's going on, because I'm gonna lie to you. I saw sometimes victims, they have a whole different reality. It's like, they come and talk to you and it's like, yeah, if I did that, that's gonna happen, and it's gonna lead me, I'm gonna go to jail, and I'm gonna lose my kids, and I'm never gonna be hired again, and they're gonna say I'm crazy, and I look at them like, clearly you're being lied to. You're living in a different reality. The person lied to them constantly that make them believe everything. Yep. They live in a whole different reality. They don't understand what's going on. Again, because it's a new environment, they don't know. So that's an migrant-related issue, or migrant-related abuse, because they've been new to the environment. They don't know the laws and regulations. It's easy that I'm going to lie to them, I'm going to tell them whatever, and they're going to believe me, because I'm the one who brought them here. I'm the one who knows the culture. Yeah. Yes. This is not just related to Nepali community, but it's among all the migrant community, believe it or not, it's the same thing. No? We can go. We talk about the technological abuse.
This is huge right now in our community. I just want to talk about it. Victims are getting abused digitally, sharing information that is completely irrelevant. There is a law for this, and they don't understand. Remember, law is above all of us in this country. So we all need to be aware and mindful of this. Whatever you post will not get deleted. Simple. And we call it discovery when we ask, and everything comes out. Everything. Doesn't matter you're saying text, doesn't matter you're saying WhatsApp, doesn't matter you're saying Viber, doesn't matter you're saying Facebook, everything, email, everything is compiled and comes back. So people have to be aware. Whatever you are putting out there, trying to torture someone mentally, verbally, whatever you write down, it comes out. So this is happening a lot. Because if you don't like somebody, post. You know, people don't realize that once upon a time you were a loved one. Once upon a time you were a family. Why are you doing this? See? So it's very important for people to be aware of it. And people don't understand the fact that whatever they're posting can also impact their another generation if they have a kids. In the future, the kids will see all of this.
I want you to understand that the user is not necessarily thinking about anybody else but themselves.
Oh yeah, at the
Because
time,
it's a
absolutely.
control, and for them, it's I'm gonna do whatever control, and I don't
And
care
it's
about
me,
the
myself.
consequences. Yeah, and even my children is an extension of me.
Yeah.
But kind of now people call it like a narcissistic disorder.
Absolutely.
But it's not necessarily that, it's necessarily, it's just related to, we talk about the repeating of the cycle before, because a person who endure abuse has seen abuse. Yeah, and hurt people. That's the term. They're like, if you're hurting, if you're seeing that in your home and it is normalized, then there's a tendency you're gonna repeat it. Yeah. So the kids see that, they see the mother was abused, the daughter's most, probably gonna be a victim of abuse. You're gonna choose an abuser, but the son gonna come out and become an abuser because he's seeing the father, and vice versa. Sometimes the son become abused because he saw the abuse. Vice versa. It can be, an abuse keep repeating. Because it's a disorder, and the reasons of abuse either that cycle, and of course it's a psychological thing, but most of the time, sometimes abuse happens because there is mental health issues or substance abuse issue. Many times it's related to alcoholic or people using drugs or people who have exhibited mental issues and they're not treated. And this is a big one too. You have to remember this is not normal. No matter we sit here and talk about it, try to normalize it, it's not normal. This is not love. This is not caring. This is not relationships. And seeking help, that's me, because you're seeking help to make something not normal normal. Yeah? Because it's not normal. And the reason of it is like neither that somebody repeating the cycle and it's psychological issue or mental issue, somebody abusing drugs or abusing alcohol. And when they do that, it's all related to also mental health issues. So there is also help for that. I can add to the resources at the end. There is a CSB, Community Service Board services here. You can go to them if you exhibit any mental, emotional, whatever, like experience emergency mentally, like emotionally. If a child experiences it or you experience it, and you need that help, you go and they do evaluation for you, and they need the help, either inpatients or outpatients. Because this can lead a lot of, many cases happen when I've seen some people who have a mentally ill person live in the house and not getting the help they needed and end up badly too. Sometimes it's related to, I have a recent case of a husband had a stroke and that mentally affected him. And then he became very controlling, very abusive, very, and the wife doesn't understand, what to do, but that person needs help, and you have to say, if you go to the CSB and try to lie, and let's say what's going on really, because I have another case where the mom actually, she's mentally became so ill, she thought her son is her husband, she tried to have like a sexual relationship with her son. Like she reached that level of mental health that she needed help, but when her kids take her there, they don't say the truth. They're ashamed. They don't want to say the truth of the real, the symptoms she's exhibiting. You have to, when you talk about these issues, you have to be very, very honest about everything, because that's the only way you can get help. When it comes to abuse, when it comes to mental health issues, substance issues, you have to talk about the symptoms of the person who needed help. Yeah? They are a danger to themselves and danger to others because of the issues they're exhibiting. Whether it's mental health issues or substance abuse, which is also related to mental health issues.
So but digital, I wanted to just add.
Digital, yeah.
Yeah, there is cases where we had was people monitoring, having video camera inside the house, and they would go to work, and then they're at their work desk, they will be watching the whole day what this person is doing during their work day. And if they're making a phone call to their family while this person is at work, he'll say she's on a call, he'll say put it on speaker. Because they want to hear everything you talk to anyone.
That's going to, that's one of the digital, they monitor you inside the house. Monitor you sometimes even when you go to the bathroom. I have a case like that. She have to be monitored even in the bathroom. Yeah. There is also tracking you, stalking you, tracking you online. Have a GPS in your car, GPS in your phone, know all your locations, where you go. Yeah, that's part of the digital technology abuse.
I think stalking should be zoned.
Yeah, it is. It
But
is
how do
actually.
you-
We have
so
a whole section about
Here's the
stalking.
thing though, on this case, I see there's abuse of all of this.
Yeah.
How do you even address to the abuser what you're doing is completely
problem. You can't even talk to that person.
You can, but if you report, if there is a way, if the person reach for help, the abused person reach for help, and there is, authority get involved, like the Fairfax County, DV, people got involved, or whatever, any county you live in, then there is a form of accountability, especially if the person have a case against them, like a legal case against them. They could be held accountable. They let them take their class, which is it's an online class, and let them go through like different programs. Some cases it works. Many cases it doesn't work. Because it started with the person realizing what they're doing is wrong. Some people, some abusers don't. I even say it in general in the community. Like, if we start talking about this in the community, and if we start saying like this is wrong, and we hold each other accountable. If a woman seeing another woman abusing her husband or abusing her kids, and held her accountable, not to do that. If a man see another man abusing his wife and abusing his kids, and tell him, no, that's wrong, and hold him accountable for that. Then the conversation start rolling, we start talking, start normalizing, not stigmatizing. There's a stigma around the issue.
Yes,
and normalizing the talk about this. Then we can start seeing the change. People are gonna talk about it. The more we talk about it, the more we educate the community about it, the more people we know this is not normal. And we're gonna call it out, we're gonna talk about it. Yeah? So it starts with education always. Always start with education and talking about it. Make this a normal talk, a normal topic to talk about, maybe monthly, maybe bi-weekly, maybe weekly, whatever you need to do. It has to be a normalized talk. Okay, demanding the password, controlling access to device, like knowing password for all your social media, controlling your social media, online harassment and threats, like you said, like I go online and I, stalking that person and writing the post like, oh, this person and this, and belittle them online and talk about them in a bad way, stuff like that. Like we said, monitoring text, phone, social media, GPS location.
So let me ask you another question. I'm sorry, it's related to this at all. If the person is character assassinating,
If the person what?
if the person is character assassinating his own wife, victim, so the victim has rights to call.
There is always a right to have a case.
So we need to educate that then,
Exactly.
because they are scared, right?
Yeah.
Often we have been seeing it. Victim has been assassinated
Yes.
constantly. So there is
You
needs to
can
be
do
reported.
that, and also not just that, it's also like the financial part abuse. Most of the time what happens is the victim is getting exploited by the credit being destroyed. Like the abuser go borrow money under the name, or take loans and stuff like that, and destroy their credit and put them in deep debt. Yeah?
Yeah.
So that's also can be reported. This is also can be where somebody say a false accusation toward you, false information against you. There's a digital crime also unit with the police that they can investigate this, and they can.
But here's the thing though, in past, if the person has issues, they gaslighted and the victim became the woman, and the blame reversed, saying that, oh, she's the problem, I'm not the problem. The scenario has already created at the beginning, right? So, but that person actually is the person who is creating all these problems, became the best person.
Trust me, if you talk to someone who's trained, an expert.
Oh, they're trained.
They know.
My God.
No. For instance, if a case came to me, if I talk to the husband, and it happened a lot. The husband who took videos of the woman after provoking her, stuff like that. It happened a lot. I have a lot of cases like that. I sit down and I listen because I went through the training, because I'm expert, because I know how to find the signs, and then I will know. So that's why I push also the education part. Like people have to go through that training to understand, because yes, for a person who doesn't have that training, it's hard. Like a lot of people, that's why I say, like sometimes people come to for instance, in the Muslim community, they're like, Imam, like, oh, she's like this, and they know, they pick the words. She do this and this, is that allowed? I don't think that's allowed. And they want to look like they're the victim.
Yes.
For the person who's not trained, yes, they can pick up. For the person who's trained and know the pattern of abuse, and
Okay.
know how the abuser acts, it's easier for us to pick it up.
Thank you.
Yeah? That's why training is important, yes.
I didn't know this might have been covered in Central News, I had to go to the bathroom really bad. I know like, at least for like, I think younger generations, I know AI, like a lot of, typically men will create, fake
Yeah.
intimate pictures of, I mean, really typically minors, but even young women, like in their early 20s. I don't know if it's, I'm sure it is happening actually in marriages as well, but that's something else I wanted to add. Like, I know that's a new form of abuse because they're taking a picture of their ex-girlfriend or their girlfriend or their wife or whatever, and then they put it into, I don't know, I don't know what AI, but they put it in there and then they craft this, again, very intimate picture of this person, and then they post it up and exploit them. But I know that's a newer form of like.
It is, and it's against the law, and there is a punishment for that. If anybody went through that, they can actually reach for help, and this is a crime. And also, I forgot to mention the pictures and online pictures for minors. It's against the law to have any kind of sexual pictures of minors. And if you have them in your phone, if somebody sends it to you by mistakes, you better delete them. You better not have them because it's a huge crime in US. It's considered a huge crime. So if your child sending a picture naked to each other, you have to have to have a conversation with your child. If they're sending any kind of sexual picture, sexting to each other, that's the person who have the picture, the person who sent the picture, the person who received the picture, all of them gonna get prosecuted. Everybody is in the situation gonna get prosecuted. Anybody who see that picture is gonna get prosecuted. Yeah, they're gonna get prosecuted. It's a felony crime. It's not a light crime. So children have to know this. Adults have to know this because it's a serious matter too. When it comes to sexual. Okay, so we can go to the next one. The social cultural abuse. Who can say an example?
I mean, sorry, just immediately I think of Mamta. I think we all are aware of her murder, and that I believe she had asked for help. She had reached out for help. Her husband was abusing her, and the response she was told was to stay in the marriage. They had a child, make it work, and unfortunately, the last thing for him to do was what he did. So, and I just, yeah, so I immediately, I think of her and I think of the sheer fact that she asked for help. She was saying, you know, she had physical, obviously, visible bruises, and the response was, you know, no, it's gonna change, or don't, you know, maybe you're doing this and it's making him upset. But I think of her immediately in that. But I think, especially in the Valley community, right, like, you know, divorce is such a bad thing, you know, you don't do that, but in this case, like, it was a matter of life or the alternative.
In many cases, actually.
Yeah, so.
But because again, the intimate partner abuse is the most violent form of abuse. The highest level, like it can reach to suicide or homicide. It's with the intimate partner. We dedicated a whole part in the domestic violence training sections about intimate partner violence, domestic violence, because it's the most severe one.
Yeah, and also, and I can talk about our community also, because we gossip. We gossip.
Mm-hmm.
If there is a problem about somebody else, why do you have to talk to everybody? Let's help that person.
But that's why the victim is scared to come out. Because of
Exactly,
that.
and that's where I'm routing to you.
Mhm.
It's like, no one wants to talk about it, because there is no confidentiality. When somebody picks up the phone and calls, that means they desperately need help. That means that person is asking for help. And asking for help, meaning that it's not like, go here. Making sure you take the ownership. Walk through that person, because that person is shaken up. And when that person is shaken up, we all need to lift up, not talking about it.
Yeah. When I say talking about it, is meaning conduct sessions like that to talk about the domestic violence issue and how we can solve it and educate the people about it. So when somebody mention it, we're not gonna gossip. We're gonna say, oh,
Let's go.
this is normal. how you can get help. That's only happen when we normalize something. But when there is a stigma around the issue, that's when it's gonna happen. Gossip, oh, she talk about this, oh, wow, look at her. She's trying to look like she's a cool, oh, she's gonna be like that, she's the type of that woman, she's a feminist, she's this, or he's whatever, yeah, or he's not a man enough. Why he's talking about he's getting abused, yeah? So this kind of stigmatizing, how it's gonna be gone, only if we educate the community and normalize the talk, like we start talking about it and give examples, like Mamta, examples of the recent bad incident happened, like this is serious. This is something serious, and also give examples of children that we keep losing every day to drugs, to gangs, to dying. Young people are now dying. I go to funeral every day, especially young men, 16, 14, 15, because they're men, the girls, they may talk and they may be vulnerable emotionally. Boys, on the other hand, they don't, because they're being pressured not to be verbal and emotionally, tender or talk about their emotions. Yeah, I go every day die of overdose, young guys, 16, 17, 18, 20, car accidents, drunk, gang activity, because they don't have that form, like they don't feel that belonging to the homes. They're trying to find that loving environment, and without them, they know they go what? Because gangs make you feel like, oh, you're home, your brothers, we will help you, protect you. And they go to that route because they don't have that protection and love in the home or in the community. We lose our youth, we lose our next generation. This is a deeper matter. Yeah? That it leads to that, whether we like it or not. It leads to that, and that's so sad. And the fact that people doesn't connect the dot, because families, they hide. When they lose their children for that reason, they hide. They don't want to talk about it. They say to the police, don't talk about the real reason.
And also, we talked about, we also say they do things. It is not your problem, it's their problem.
Yes.
It is a family between husband and wife. It is not your problem. It is our problem, because now it's addressing to us, right? We, as a woman, supposed to uplift. We talk about equality. We talk about a lot of stuff about we as a woman needs equal. But we as a woman cannot help women. So if we start like looking at it deeply, there is huge problem in a lot of Asian American community that we don't share. Because we are scared to talk to somebody else, and that somebody else will talk to somebody else, and it multiplies. And there's so many fear. There shouldn't be any fear, because we got so much resources, so much hand-on training, so much support, so much pro bono, by the way, so much court has, county has so much resources that we don't even use.
And it's all for free.
All for free. So there is nothing that we should be afraid of. Each county has a lot of handouts.
Yes.
It's a matter of just picking up the phone, calling them, trying to reach out and trying to get through it. And you are not alone.
Sorry, because the word shame is also something that I think is very big in our community.
Yes,
Shaming the victim.
Yeah, like you should be ashamed that this happened to you, like that this is happening to you, or like it's. And I think it's so interesting that there's so much shame on the people that are on the victims or the survivors rather. But like I think, and I would like to think Gen Z is helping you. I don't know.
Yes.
I'd like to think we're helping push the narrative. Like the shame is not on you for what happened to you. The shame was on the person that did that to you. And I'd like to think giving resources and this whole presentation is a great example of like, if something happens to you, it's never like, it is not your fault. If someone exploits you, if someone hurts you, if someone, emotionally abuses you, that is not your fault. Like you never deserve, everyone deserves safety, everyone deserves a loving relationship, a loving home. Yeah, everyone deserves that. And if something happens to you, it is 100% valid to feel fear, but it is not your fault. You should not feel any shame. That shame should go on the person that did that to you and that made you feel, who's making you feel that fear. That's not your fault. That's the other person's. And I think that's something that our community need to work on. Could do better. And I think again, it's coming. But sorry, I just wanted when Mom was
that's great. I need to hear your thoughts regarding the the culture, social abuse,
Yeah.
because that plays a bigger part in our, like, in migrant community in general. Because in migrant community, again, new environment, they depend solely on the community, yeah, for day-to-day life, or to feel like they belong, to feel better. So they go, like, I know people who, they completely isolated from the American culture. The only culture they're exposed to is there through the community. Yeah, Nepali community, Indian community, Pakistani community, whatever. They go through their country community only. And that's the only community they know. So imagine somebody like that. Like, they have no Gen Z, why? Because they're the first generation or whatever, like first generation migration, who born or raised here. Of course they're gonna have a different perspective, especially if they go to public school and, you know, dealt with, and they've seen the different. But people who come from overseas and stay here and they have only that culture, environment, only the community environment, and that's what they're getting when they're like reaching out for help. Imagine how they gonna get, they just gonna continue until they're gonna get killed or they commit suicide. There's a story happening in one of the mosques also, like that lady, she was a lawyer, her husband was a lawyer, and she had 2 kids, very active in the Boy Scout, everybody know her in the community, she's like very active, whatever, very involved in the community. And one day they wake up and her husband came home from work, he found her, shot her 2 sons and shot herself. That was a wake-up call in our community to start a mental health clinic and talk about domestic violence and talk about emotional abuse and all this stuff. Because, you know, us as a community, if we're not there supporting each other and we're waiting for something drastically like this, cases like Momptown, the recent case to happen, then we're just a reactive community. We're not a proactive community. We're not looking for ways to prevent this from happening. We're not looking for ways to make it better. We're just easier for us to shame and blame each other.
So, how do you spot the patterns of, like, before the abuse happens? Like, how do you spot on, like, which direction it is going to, and whether you're thinking straight or like you're just overthinking it?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Again, abuse it's about control, and there is a pattern of that. We call about the 4 phases of abuse. I'm not sure if you a full circle was 4 phases of the circle of abuse, where we're like there is it starts with love bombing. You see, like abusers doing, I want to be in a relationship with someone, like I buy them flower, I take them to best restaurant, I go far and beyond to get to that person. Yeah? Love bombing. And then slowly start, abuse does not start big. It starts small. The more you tolerate, the more extreme it becomes. It goes up. The more you tolerate, the more extreme it goes, until it reaches that higher level of what we're talking about. But abuse never starts right away like that. Incident happened. Then a big incident happens. Small stuff start happening. Oh, I'm scared. I don't want you to be alone. So I have to know where you are, you know, all the time, you know. And it's about what we have also like the other. I'm going to talk about the cycle, and then I'm going to talk about abusive, non-abusive, and in risk relationship. So start with the small things, and then small incident happen, and then you know you let it go, yeah, and then big incident happen. Maybe you get slapped in the face, or you get pushed, or you got cut off financially. Stuff like that happen, and then you feel scared. You start reacting, whatever, and for the person who knows that you're going to lose you after that, or you're going to do something, they're going to come back again with a love bombing.
You know,
That's how they control you.
a lot of women think you will change.
Yeah, because of that love bombing phase. Because after a big incident, I'm gonna come, I'm gonna buy you jewelry, and I'm gonna buy you gold, I'm gonna take you to this restaurant, I'm gonna get you flowers, I'm gonna tell you I love you, I can live without you. I'm giving you that because you are dying for that, you're dying to hear that. And you think like, oh, just maybe if I did that. Hope, you know, if I did that maybe, but you know what, it's a pattern, they know how to play you. They study, they know how to play you, so it's a pattern. It's called the 4 phases of abuse, yeah? And then when it comes to relationships also, I used to have a schedule always, it's very helping to show people that schedule, like what is normal relationship, and what is in risk relationship, and what is abusive relationship look like, yeah? Normal relationship, when we talk about topics, when you feel like different topics and you can disagree, when you feel safe. You can say your opinions and discuss things and disagree on it in a safe manner and then close that matters and talk in a way. You know, like when it's like at risk, you know, there is blaming, there is accusation, there is this and this, abuse it, there is just one person take the decision. You know, there is a pattern of normal behavior. You have to know what normal is to understand what is not normal. And then we talk about boundaries too, like, you know, I always say in every place I go and I talk to, 2 words I learned late in my life that changed my life. It's self-care and boundaries.
Yep.
We're responsible about our well-being and anything that harm our well-being, you know, and our safety. We should put a stop to it because we are in charge and responsible for ourselves. And then we're responsible for the people who are under us, like our children and whoever depending on us.
But it takes a long time to understand yourself. You see, self-care is, you know, often we don't. And that is so nice that you brought it up.
Yeah.
Self-care is first of you, and then boundary is secondary. But at the same time, it goes hand in hand, so you have to utilize that.
Yeah.
Because until you don't realize that self-care is for me, my protection, and nothing else is there.
And not just
and it takes a
protection.
long time. Like, it takes a long time. I mean, like,
It's not just protection, self-care. We say like, my therapist, because I had to go through therapy too. She gave me an example. She said, Raya, like, if you're in an airplane and there's a turbulence happen,
oh yes.
whether they tell you to put the mask in your face first or your children first? Who? Yourself first.
Yeah.
Yeah? You have to be able to breathe, to do anything else. You have to be able to function in life. To be a wife, to be a mother, to be a sister, to be a daughter, to be anything. I have to function first. I have to be able to take care of myself first. I know in different culture across the migrant community that self-care is considered as selfishness. There's 2 different words. There are totally 2 different words. Self-care is something that mandatory for us to do. It's mandatory for our well-being and health, physical, emotional, all that. Boundaries is mandatory for our safety from other people. I have to have boundaries. And in the migrant community in general, in the Pali community, for sure, we don't have that boundaries even between the family. Like, I'm your father, I'm your mother, I know what's better for you. I'm your husband, I'm your whatever. There is boundaries have to be, you know, and we had to learn this, you know. So yeah, there is a pattern for abuse. And then again, going back to control. I want to control you. It's not that I have a normal disagreement with you and we both got heated and it's happened sometimes, we're human. But if that person has a pattern that's trying to control you, then you say, this person is trying to control, you know? And then when you see things from a perspective out of emotions, because a lot of people talk about how we react and how we emotionally get it, because that person, you invested in that person emotionally. So when we go back to self-care and we go back to boundaries, and I have them clear and I know them, and I always tell to youth, younger people, before you get into a relationship or marriage and stuff like that, take that classes, go and learn about yourself, learn about boundaries, learn about self-care, learn about health relationships and abusive relationships, so you can understand that and catch that before it happens. Prevent it, because prevention is better than cure.
I'll just give a little example. When you feel like you're walking on eggshells around someone, you feel like the air is sucked out of the room suddenly with their presence. That kind of shows that you're inside, your soul is not happy, something is going wrong there. And I think women know. Women have this sixth sense, or I just say like most humans have it. And
just recognizing that sometimes helps, but yeah. But the loving phase, if you keep thinking about that and just forget all the other stuff, it's very hard to break that barrier of.
And if you have the information early, you can end it up in early stages before it even become marriage or becoming even a relationship. Just the phase of talking to that person and dealing with them, you see their pattern, even if they're trying to hide it behind that love bombing. When you get out of that love bombing and get to the serious conversation before you get into serious relationship, that's a whole different conversation we can talk about. But prevention is better than cure. And knowing this information, it will also help you have an idea about the abusive mind and how they work, and the simple things that you don't think, like especially before you get into serious relationship with them, if it's boyfriend, girlfriend, if it's marriage, if it's serious relationship, or living with them at the same house, you know the signs before that, before reaching that level, and it's easier to get out at that level than when you get seriously involved with them. We can go to the next. I took a long time because this is a big part in the migrant community, the social culture pressure. Okay, we spoke about the root causes before briefly. I don't know if you remember that. So, who can tell me about the root causes of domestic violence? I spoke about it briefly too, but who can tell me what they think?
I mean, root cause of domestic violence can be very various. It could be families going through hardship. That starts a small phase. It could be third-party involvement, and domestic violence gets involved. Third party.
Laws abuse, that's the big one in our migrant.
Huge, because the third party, when that involves, there is a huge change of the shift on a person. But person does not realize what is triggering. And you became the bad. I see that. Then third, also mental health, because we don't know what the state of the person is going through. Confused individual. And where does the
They can have
victim?
mental health issues, problems that nobody knows or they don't want to
Exactly,
address.
childhood trauma. We
Yeah.
never knew.
Substance abuse.
Yeah, substance abuse, yes, that's another thing. Because it may be substance abuse at the beginning, and it may be triggering now. And then having third-party involvement, substance abuse, those are all the factors gets involved on a domestic violence. And then the family member became the victim.
Abuse can happen also from the third party.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
abuse, not just through that partner or through they just instigating that partner to
Oh,
abuse
yes.
you, but they also can abuse you, the in-laws or the family members or whatever.
I think part of it also has to do with how the person was raised, what was normalized in their family.
Which is
Because-
repeating the cycle
Yeah.
that we talked
Yes.
about.
Not knowing it was actually
It is.
domestic violence
Yes.
and then keep repeating that.
It's a cultural thing, it becomes like a norm.
And it is for the abuser, it became normal for them because their circle of environment is like that.
That abuse too,
Yes.
it's normal for them because
It's
they've
normal.
seen abuse, so they can
Yes.
endure it.
You said it, like if you could, even if you're a victim of it, like you can internalize that and then you become the abuser.
Yes.
You know, like when you
Yes.
yeah, sorry, I didn't even think about that.
Yes.
So you think they will victim, you wouldn't do it. But of course, if you've seen it, you were the victim, you can still internalize it. It just, it's actually the other opposite way.
And you can, it's important, like same way, drunk parent,
Yeah.
and the kid sees that, but still becomes.
They still do it.
And then also people,
It's repeating the cycle, you say.
yes, and also people doesn't realize, I noticed that when I work with a lot of issues with this now, with Tammy, in so many ways, I realized that sometimes it was a perfect for all your life. All of a sudden, trauma can also happen at a certain age. So people doesn't realize what the person had gone through in their childhood. Everything falls back, later.
Mental health can get triggered.
Yes,
anytime in
triggered
your life.
on a
You
root
get
cause.
triggered, there is a triggers for mental health, means that you go through traumatic events
Yeah.
and it's sometimes people are more like genetically more vulnerable than others. And when they go through this trauma, it triggers the mental health issue, and it can show in the form of substance abuse. They're trying to self-medicate.
Oh, yeah.
So it leads to substance abuse, either alcohol abuse or with drug abuse and stuff like that. So the things that are intertwined, like they go back to mental health.
Yes, and now it's become bigger issues.
Yeah. Okay, and then, okay, people who have issues also. We also, Fairfax County also give those anger management classes and stuff like that. People who have issues with regulating their emotions, which is weak anger. Like they've gone through a lot, and since they were children, they were not taught the proper way of regulating their anger. So their anger could be like pushing, shoving people, punching the wall, destroying property. They just have no control over their anger. Yeah. Like we said, it's fundamentally about power and control, and several factors increase risk. Like we said about migrants and isolation, and people who've seen abuse before and endure it, and people are being through it and they become abusers, and the factors we spoke about. Okay, power and control dynamics. We're talking about the core code now.
Because he's bringing the money and he has control over everything.
We're talking about the root causes, yeah? So, why abuse happened? We said about learned pattern of coercion and manipulation. Learn that we talk about the pattern. That's happened before in their life and repeated. You see, things are keep repeating because when we repeat and repeat, hopefully we can understand the depth of this matter and the importance and the urgency, because whether we like it or not, it's everything is related. Yeah?
Without like the real pressure, insecurities and pressure to succeed.
Believe that one has the right to control another person.
That's all
Because
that
they've
happens.
seen that. Yeah?
Yeah.
Desire to eliminate a partner. I'm the alpha, I'm the
Yep.
dominant person.
I can do anything I want.
Yeah,
Not your problem.
I saw cases also with women that they're being taught if they didn't control their partner, then that they don't have a marriage. I've seen that also with some women. They know how to control the husband in different ways, but I've seen abuse happen to men brutally. Because women, if they become abusers,
They can be
they
worse
know
too.
how to live. They know how to live. It's not in the nature of the women. Statistically, there's more women get abused than men, but it's also comes as a reaction to being abused before, like saying, oh, my mother did this, I'll never be like my mother. So she became an abuser. Yeah. It's so sad, but it's fact, it's happening. I've seen it a lot. And then the man thinks like, like, what's going on? What am I going through? Like, they don't even understand what they're going through, but they're being manipulated and controlled. And sometimes, like, some cases, that man is huge, muscular man, and the wife is just this tall, short, and she can't control that big guy. He's actually a very kind guy, and, he's, despite his huge, presence and stuff like that, and you can see, like, she could totally control him that time. Yeah, because of her reaction of abuse.
For people who have been through abuse, that internalized it, that turned the abuse more on in the past, becoming abusers. How can you as an individual have to deal with this? Like, obviously therapy and everything is about them, but that's their own decision to take. But like as a separate individual, how can you
For yourself? You mean seeking help for yourself or for somebody else? Like if you went through something and you think you need to heal,
I think that kind of
going to school, you're talking about trying to help the other person. You can always offer that help. You can always say, like, I'm here for you. There is this help. If you need it, I'm here for you. And I can help you go through it. I can help you walk through it. Yeah? But at the end is you cannot force it. We are responsible for ourselves, our safety, our well-being. If I'm in a relationship where I know someone, even if it's a family member, is very abusive, I have the right to have that boundaries to save myself. I can try to help them. But if they don't want to get that help, then I just have to protect myself and move on. Because again, we we have no control over normal.
Yes.
We don't control. We had to, yes, we can try to help. And that's part of what made me stick to my way for 20 years. I thought that I can help and change. You cannot. You can offer that help, you can offer that support, but it's up to the person if they want to change or not. Yeah? And it's up to you to take a decision if you want to continue in this or not, or you want to protect yourself or not. Does that help? Okay, it all goes back to what we all talk about and keep repeating. It's a desire to dominate, desire to control. Why? Because of you've seen that control before, you think that's normal, or you have mental problems. Some people think like mentally I'm in control, and some kind of mental illnesses like schizophrenia and other type bipolar, and people are just, they become that. This is some kind of their symptoms of their illnesses. Yeah, abusive. They become verbally, mental, physical abuse when they drink or when they're into drugs. They become very aggressive. This is all patterns we have to be aware of. Why, the reason why it's happening. We know the reasons, understand the why, but we cannot, even if we know the why and we can help that person, and we offer that help, and they don't want to get that help, it's not up to us. We have to make a decision for ourselves now, and the people who are dependent on us. If they're children, if they're siblings, if there's whatever, we have to take the decision that's actually good for us. And move on, because I cannot help people who doesn't want to help themselves. I can bring the horse to the water to drink, because I cannot force the horse to drink the water. Yeah?
Thank you, yes.
I think we have till 12, so.
We have until 1.
Okay. Culture and social norms, normalizing of male dominance and hierarchy, pressure to preserve family reputation at any cost. Does that sound familiar, guys? Stigma against divorce, speaking publicly, we spoke about all of this before, the culture, social norms, yeah? Gender roles that discourage women from seeking help. What else? Who else can add about the culture, social norms in your community? Was anything said here, like, do you have addition to that, like the norms in the Nepali community that you can say, like cultural norms that can be a factor in abuse?
Usually a lot of women don't speak up.
Does it go into stigma
Against divorce or speaking publicly about your issues. Because, again, here's the thing.
or is it about,
It's not just about the role, it's about, I think, I'm gonna speak in English and then I'm gonna speak in Nepali. Sure. We women always have to protect the family. Right? We women have to do everything to protect everyone. Because, again, norm.
foundation of the
Foundation
family?
of the.
You're the reason of the
Yeah,
family
you are,
stick
you
together.
cannot break, yes. You committed. So anything you say, it will go against you, matter of fact. It could be the victim, if they spoke, it's gonna go against them. Because there is no one supporting them. And they get isolated by your own friend circle, your own family, and that is the problem. And we wanna fix the problem, we wanna talk about the problem. The problem is right there. Let's fix the problem by supporting the victim. Let's unite the victim and try to help them. Because we cannot go talk to anybody. It will be like, oh, you are the bad one. And then they drop you. None of the family wants to talk to the person who's victim. And that is the problem. So हाम्रो समाजमा के गर्नुपर्छ भने कसैलाई गाह्रो परिरहेको छ भने त्यो गाह्रोलाई सम्हाल्न सिक्नुपर्छ। किन भयो भनेर सोच्नुपर्छ। उनीहरूलाई नै आइसोलेट गरेपछि उसले बोल्ने बाटो कहाँ हो त? म त्यो क्वेसन गर्छु क्या जहिले पनि कि हामी जहिले पनि यो फिक्स गर्न सक्दैनौँ, यो गर्दैनौँ, यो डोमेस्टिक भाइलेन्स हो भन्दै हिँड्छौँ। तर कसैलाई डोमेस्टिक भाइलेन्स भइरहेछ, मान्छेलाई गाह्रो परिरहेछ भने उसको साथ दिने कि उसलाई छोडिदिने? That bothers me.
Like, I just can't believe that we categorize that person so heavily, saying that she's the bad, she's the bad, she's bad. But they're not looking at overall of everything. What triggered this? How this happened? Because the women often don't leave their home. Women often don't want to get divorced. Women often protects their family. They fight for their family. And when the woman is tired, that's when they get out. And people need to realize that.
So you're talking about victim blaming, and victim blaming is a big part of why the victims does not come out in across all culture, even Americans, like born and raised here.
Yeah.
Victim blaming is a big thing that prevents people from seeking help. And that falls on us as a community. That's why I emphasize a lot about the cultural and social part when I talk to communities, because that falls on us as a community, that we should not blame the victim, we should blame the aggressor, and we actually, put the energy toward the person who commit the aggression and try to correct them and tell them that's blaming, like belittle them. That's the, and even that is not good, because sometimes, like, it's not blaming, it's just kind of highlighting the oppression. It's oppression. Yeah, abuse is a form of oppression. And oppression is not allowed anywhere, yeah? So we have to kind of, what's happening is this form of oppression. Who committed the oppression? You committed oppression. If you want to correct it, correct it. If you don't want to correct it, then you should be held accountable from the community at least. Like, as a community, we should tell you, like, no, we don't like what you're doing. We're trying to help you. Because most of the time, those people also, they don't know what they're doing is wrong, yeah? And they need that help. But we cannot force them again to get that help. Yeah, we can tell them, like, this is the help available for you. But if they don't wanna, then we as a community should direct that energy toward that abuser who we offer help, we tell them there is this, you can do that, but still they insist in their ways. If that pressure was toward the abusers, the story would be different.
Oh, yeah.
Than being pressure toward the victim. Yeah.
And again, it goes back to the culture, is that it is not our problem. It's their problem. It's between husband and wife. So we don't talk about it. The problem became only them. That's it.
I always say to people, like, it's your business to have a healthy future generation, because if you have children, who your children gonna marry to? It's like, and who your children gonna live with, yeah? Like, this is the future is like concerning your children, concerning you directly, concerning the future generation, concerning the extension of us as humans. So whatever that can affect that, our precious next generation that gonna come, it means it has to be a concern of everybody. Yeah. What else is a cultural norm, and you guys think it has direct connection to the domestic violence, sexual violence issue?
I think the opposite of what you just talked about, due to hierarchy in patriarchal society, sometimes there are few men who are psychologically abused, they end up committing suicide because they don't know what to do.
Yes.
And also, they have never been told,
Yeah.
right? What is wrong and what is right. Also, there's a problem, because I see lack of upbringing on the directions of what is right and what is wrong for a lot of men. Because if you have never been brought up on a scenario where, hey, this is not the right way to do it, this is not the right way to do it, how can you approach? But then again, you are here, you are educated.
This goes back to the gender roles, and then the dominance therapy.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's it, and that's where it routes to. And it's very difficult.
I think sometimes it's also, it also has something to do with, like, which I see very common in our community, like people are scared to be judged. You know, like when we bring it up, when we're, sitting together, whether it be a dinner party or just family gathering or at a park, we're scared to bring it up because they feel like, he or she's gonna judge,
People are gonna look at me a certain way, and
Yeah, and I think that's something that, we all can work to educate ourselves and our families, sisters, brothers, not to be judgmental. If someone is bringing up their issues, let's just have open mind listen to what he or she has to say.
Yeah, goes back to educating the community. The more we get educated, the more we talk about it, the less stigma gonna happen, the less, lack of upbringing or lack of information or lack of understanding gonna happen, which is, it resulted in the community, when issues like that comes, they're gonna understand, oh, this is actually wrong situation, and we have to talk about it accordingly, that is wrong, not to just pass over this other person or judge the person and stuff like that. It's very important because us as a community, sometimes we don't understand the weight of the words or the actions we do and the action and the words we say toward this community, and we kind of say like, oh, it's not our problem, but it feels, if like my next door neighbor, she was going through that, or my friend in the community, we meet at the gathering, we meet at the parties, we meet at the holiday parties, whatever, and she was going through that, and then I didn't know about it, I didn't even spot it, and suddenly she committed suicide, and suddenly she got killed by her partner, or he got whatever. I'm gonna feel that regret when it's too late, But it's something preventable if we decided as a community to become better, to become educated, to reach that goal, to wanting to help. Educate ourselves first, and then educate people who are next to us. It starts with a small butterfly effect, and then it goes big way. It's not we talk about it. It's not that like it's impossible. It is possible, and it starts with small group of beautiful people like you guys to make that difference. Yeah, and it could happen. It just requires consistency, patience, and education, and using those resources and utilize it. We can move on. Mental health factors. We talk about it. There is different mental health disorders. I mentioned two of them. I mentioned depression. I mentioned schizophrenia and bipolar. There is the anxiety, trauma, personality disorder, which is the bipolar one of it. Some personality disorders, people like they have different multiple personalities. They really believe they're different people. They have actually totally different personality. That's what actually makes you think like you're crazy. Because sometimes they're like so sweet and nice and beautiful and kind, and suddenly they are in that mode of like that aggressive person and verbally abusive person, whatever. Personality disorder is hard to. It's very difficult, but it's a lot now. It's happening a lot, and this is starting with the mental disorders. And the related mental health conditions can heighten conflict but do not cause abuse. Let that sink in, guys. Yes, it's escalated, but it's not the root cause of abuse. Again, the root cause of abuse is what? Power and control. Yeah? Survivors may also develop mental health challenges. We spoke about that because of the violence. Yeah? I met women who start urinating themselves, understanding like that from the constant violence and abuse. They have zero control of their bladders. They're depressed. Some of them, it's affected them mentally and physically because mental health is also affecting our body. They start developing mental health and physical health issues because they lack the self-care and they stop caring about themselves. It's all about pleasing the other person. So yeah, depression, schizophrenia, and it leads to suicide. Yeah. That's for the victims. It affects them greatly. The more they tolerate it, the more the damage happens mentally, and most of the time physically too, because our mental health and physical health are related. Yeah, and I saw women who I remember that case who suddenly she fell and they rushed her to the hospital, her 3 kids, and she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer that spread the whole body. And when I sit down and talk to her daughters and her son, that lady lived an abusive life. She did not know what herself is. She was just a servant for her husband and her kids and her. She just exhibited abuse all up and down. It's just sad, like, you know, until the person died or something severe happened, then you realize this person actually was going through abuse. I've seen many cases. I've seen ladies who just lost it and went in a facility. It was crazy, and they just lost it and had a manic attack, and they just lost it. Some of them, they have a manic attack that they kill the children and kill themselves because they think they're protecting the children too. I want to get out of it, but I also want my kids to get out of it. So they kill the kids and they kill themselves. Yeah, because they think that's the only solution. We're safe now. We're with God. This is all happening. Like, unfortunately, this is as heavy as it is, but it's happening. You know, and the more as a community we keep pressuring the victims, this type of severe form of reaction to abuse can happen because they think that's the only way out. Okay, we can move on. Substance abuse, we talked about it too. We spoke about alcohol drug abuse, may escalate violent behavior also. It's not the cause, but it can escalate it. But it's linked to the severity as we mentioned. Yeah, we can go. The family history, intergenerational trauma, we spoke about it, that it has impact on us wherever we see. There are people who seen or lived violence, they more, there's a bigger possibility to repeat it or endure that abuse. Yeah, and we call it intergenerational trauma. Yeah, so it became carry on. That's why it became a norm in the community because it's being generational trauma passed down from generation to generation. Somebody has to break that cycle. Yeah, it become a cycle. And we spoke about normalizing the harmful relationship dynamic and growing up witnessing. Remember when I say we call children witness of domestic violence? That's the first thing I say when people ask me about this. The children who witness that domestic violence neither abusers or they become victims. That's just it is what it is. And they're more like children, like I mentioned before, who are going to get in trouble with gangs and drugs and mental health issues. Children who go through that, most of the time they're coming from abusive homes. Most of the children who go through this kind of crazy mode of going to gangs and violence and using guns and killing each other and abusing drugs and do all this, they live in abusive households. The statistics show that. Next. The migration dependency and vulnerability, we spoke about it. This is all the root cause. This whole fear of deportation, abuses using migration as a control tool. Survivors unaware of their rights in the U.S., we spoke about that, and we mentioned that there is resources also for people who are.
This is a use because they do have a big resources.
Yeah.
People don't have to worry about vulnerability about immigration at all. There is a law that protects them.
Yes.
And they may not realize there is a law to protect the immigration dependency and vulnerability because that's what they created. And there is list of organizations, they only focus on those.
Yes, helping the survivors.
Yeah,
get the
survivors.
Get a legal status in the United States.
Yeah. And these are support by county. That does not cost you. Just
Yes.
wanted to make sure
Doesn't cost you any
victim
money.
understand that there is no cost.
Yes. Financial stress and agricultural stress.
Hazur, 1 second. I want to go back to the the immigrations. Can you go back to that slide?
Yeah, sure.
हाम्रो यो इमिग्रेसनमा चाहिँ हामी चाहिँ जसरी हामी चाहिँ डिपेन्डेन्ट भएर आउँछौँ त्यसमा चाहिँ हामीलाई के छ भने त्यो भिजामा आउँदाखेरि हामीले अब डोमेस्टिक पार्टनर चाहिँ एकदम अब्युसिभ छ भने
यसरी बसिरहनु पर्दैन ल छ यहाँ काउन्टीको एकदम सपोर्ट छ हाम्रो लयरहरू हुनुहुन्छ उहाँको फ्री अफ कस्टमा गरिदिनु भएको छ काउन्टीकैबाट अनि रिसोर्सेसहरू हामीले वितरण गर्न सकिन्छ तपाईहरू यदि त्यस्तै सिचुएसनमा परिरहनु भएको छ भने वी हेभ अर्गनाइजेसन हु जम्प्स इन त्यो अर्गनाइजेसनले चाहिँ तपाईहरूलाई मद्दत गरिदिन्छ सो प्लिज मेक स्योर टु रिच आउट इफ यु आर अन द्याट सिचुएसन कसैले चाहिँ यो गरेर तँलाई निकालिदिन्छु यो गरेर तँलाई पठाइदिन्छु नेपाल तँलाई फिर्ता गरिदिन्छु भन्न मिल्दैन यहाँ जब तपाईँ एकदम त्यस्तो सिचुएसनमा हुनुहुन्छ भने त्यहाँ लले प्रोटेक्ट गर्छ हजुरहरूलाई थ्याङ्क यू
Okay, we talk about the financial stress also and agricultural stress, economic instability, unemployment or financial struggles. We spoke about that because the victim usually is controlled and has no access to financial resources, which is preventing them from, being able to get out of the situation. Stress, or also the abusers too. If the abusers are going through that financial stress and instability and employment and financial struggles, they can take it out of their partner too. Yeah. So we're talking about the root causes of what causes or what can escalate that abuse. One part of it is the partner is going through that also struggle, economical, and sometimes people we've seen it when people lost their job, when the government shut down and cut off a lot of people, lost their jobs. We've seen that mental health issues went in the rise, and then domestic abuse issues happening. People are going to drugs and stuff like that. Suddenly their life collapsed, economically, financially, that they lost everything. So that contributed on also the abuse. Stress or just in the new country, we have, I came here and I was doing, one of my first projects was mental health awareness. I used to work with a therapist who worked with immigration specifically, and she's always mentioning that number one diagnosis for people who come into the country is a diagnosis called adjustment disorder. People have issues, hard time to adjust into the new culture. They end up not adjusting well to the new environment, which is cause issues. Neither they just stick to their community, never have learn the language or degraded somehow, or just total isolation. You cannot, keep talking back home and stuff like that. So it's adjustment disorder. So they're not adjusting to the new environment, which is cause also lead to that, them being abusive toward their people, toward their household members. Children, most of the time, get abused by parents telling them oh, you have to follow the culture. Same they are back home, and they're telling the kids oh, you're Nepali, you're this, you're Sudani, or whatever. You have to act accordingly. You have to. They forget that I came to this country, I brought this kids to this country, so whether we like it or not, they're American, yeah. And we have to teach them good and bad. It doesn't mean where you come from. It doesn't matter, good and bad. Everybody has to learn how to become a better person and what not to do and what to do. Yeah. Language barriers or isolation in migrant experience. Isolation in the migrant experience. We spoke about that too. The language barrier. It could be also contributing aspects in the person to be abused, or also the abusers continue their own ways because they're living in their own old ways, cultural ways back home, and they don't have access to understand this is a new culture, a new country. Certain things when we first start doing this educational session, the first thing we start saying is abuse is illegal. A lot of people who this is normally done back home, whatever, here it's illegal. It's against the law. And if somebody wants to have a case against you, they can't. Yeah? It's not, so not knowing this, having that barrier, living in that isolation, it could lead to you become an abuser or become abused also. Okay. Within the Nepali community, yep. Studies show 40 to 60% of South Asian women report TV. Rajan Silverman, 2003. So 2019, who knows about this story? Rajan Silverman. So do you see that? Yep. 40 to 60% of South Asian women report domestic violence.
boosted heavily from the time of pandemic till now. It has increased heavily.
So this is a statistic, the research done in 2003. Now we're in 2026. Do you think that's increased or decreased?
It's heavily increased.
I think so.
Heavily increased.
Uh-huh. Nepal-based study shows 26 to 33% lifetime inter-partner violence, yeah? Among women. I want the statistic to sink in. That's 2021. That was 2021 study done in 2020.
So I wanted to share this is because this statistic is clearly came from a database.
Which is reported. That's the reported one,
reported database है हजुरको यो डेटामा जति छ हाम्रो प्रब्लमेटिक अहिले त्यो सबै डेटाबेसबाट आएको छ अनि हामीले हेर्नुपर्ने एकदमै जरुरी छ हरेक दिन बढिरहेको छ अनि हामीले चाहिँ यो हामीले यो मेकअप स्टोरी होइन कि हाम्रो काउन्टीबाट आएर उनीहरूले होल कोर डेटा लिएर आएर रिपोर्टेड डेटा चाहिँ हामीलाई प्रेजेन्ट गरेको छ आज भनेपछि हामीले एकदम अवेरनेस ल्याउनु जरुरी छ डोमेस्टिक भाइलेन्समा सो आजको यो क्लास हुन्छ भोलि अर्को क्लास हुन्छ जसको क्षमता छ जसलाई जरुरी छ हजुरहरू रिच आउट गर्नुहोस् हजुरहरू त्यसरी ल्याक अफ बसेर आफूले आफूलाई त्यो ठाउँमा नराख्नुहोस् सेल्फ केयर अ बााउन्ड्री भन्ने चाहिँ दुईटा चाहिँ हजुरले एकदम बुझ्न जरुरी छ हजुरै छैन भने अरू केही पनि हुँदैन प्लिज
That's what you just said. DV remains significantly underreported in Nepali for your communities. So that's among most communities, but also your community is underreported because of all things, because of you just mentioned. So this is the thing that reported. We're not talking about the one that's not reported. And then Nepali community groups support increase in domestic violence tied to accumulation of stress, financial and immigration dependency. So it's related to this
stress, financial.
and the immigration dependency, which is we mention a lot here. The victim depend on the abuser on financial and economical, and also the abuser, the visa or the status here in the United States. So let that sink in and let the information about underreported also sink in. That's many cases are not reported. This is just a reported one. And that goes actually among the entire community, not just the Nepali community, but that goes all around US. We can talk about the statistic of the reported cases, but many cases go unreported. Unique risk factors in the Nepali community. We spoke a lot about the pressure with our family unity and stigma around the divorce. We spoke about that. Gender norms may normalize control. We also spoke about that. Dependency with the positive migration status. We spoke about that. Limited job opportunities for new arrivals. Language barriers to just access to services. We also talked about that. And I want you to know in Fairfax County, correct me if I'm wrong, that there is a translation services.
Indeed,
Okay.
there is.
And it should not be a barrier at all. You can just mention the language you speak, and they will connect a translator to help you, whether you call the hotline, domestic violence hotline, whether you walk in, whether you talk to any expert in Fairfax County, we have access to translation services. So language should not be a barrier at all. We can go to the next one. Warning signs of abuse. That's also going back to the question. Monitoring phones, social media, daily activities. Somebody want to know everything about you, controlling your phone. I want to see there's no boundaries again. No boundary. involvement in migration status, embarrassment or verbal insults. This is not normal, yeah? Physical harm or forced sexual activities, restricting access to money, health care, transportation. These are all not normal. Yeah? That's how you can see the warning signs. Next. Impact on survivors. We said that survivors can have PTSD or anxiety, depression, they exhibit mental health issues because of the constant. The research shows that the person who's been through violence, they have the same impact mentally as the people who go through war. That's heavy. It feels like you're in war. Study shows that. PTSD on survivors is the same PTSD on people who've been through war. That has to sink in. This is not normal. This is not something that we can just shove it under the rug and walk. Yeah. Chronic pain and long-term health issues, I spoke about that. Yeah, because mentally affects your physical, your mental health affects your physical health. Because you stop caring for yourself in general, and that affects you directly, affects your body directly. Children may suffer emotional and behavioral problems. We also spoke about that. Economic instability and risk of homelessness. Yes, many survivors are homeless. They reach a point of their life, they stay in shelters for a long time until they become dependent or independent. They can gain that independency in learning how to get a job and how to pay bills and how to learn their ways around. And that's why we need the community also. Fairfax County has resources, but also the community will help. Sometimes we have, Fairfax County have resources to help the persons through certain, and we are very lucky in Fairfax because I have sometimes clients who come from DC, federal government cut the budget for them. They're in the street after 2 weeks, they're in the streets. They have no transitioning home, they have in Fairfax we are blessed, we have the housing, you know, we are partnered with the housing shelters, Artemis Housing, you know, we have a lot of, thank God, we have a lot of resources in Fairfax.
I just want to talk on that topic since you mentioned it. हाम्रो फेयरफ्याक्स काउन्टीमा चाहिँ हामीले एकदम धेरै नै डोमेस्टिक भाइलेन्सको पार्टनरहरूलाई सपोर्ट गरेका छौँ। नम्बर 1, उहाँहरूले हाउसिङ जहाँ बस्नको लागि सुविस्ता दिनुहुन्छ। नम्बर 2, कहिलेकाहीँ उहाँहरूको लागि तपाईँ आफ्नो खुट्टामा नउभिएसम्म तपाईँलाई रेन्ट पनि हेल्प गराएको हुन्छ। वाटर बिल पनि तिर्दिएको हुन्छ, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी पनि दिएको हुन्छ, र तपाईँलाई इमिग्रेसनको कुनै पनि स्ट्याटस प्रब्लममा छ भने उहाँहरूले तपाईँलाई सपोर्ट गर्नुहुन्छ। सो भनेपछि सबै चिजले कभर गरेको छ तपाईहरुलाई, तपाई एक्लै हुनुहुन्न। That's the message I wanted to give them, is that they are not alone. Our county has housing, shelter, pay the funding for the waters and electricities, and also if they need support for the immigration purposes, they have pro bono. They will set you up with all of those things for you. You are not alone. It could be men, it could be women, but you guys are not alone. Use the resources, please. Thank you.
Next, legal rights in the United States. Domestic violence is illegal, as I mentioned before, and I can mention it over and over again, regardless of a migration status. It's illegal to cause harm or abuse anybody. It's against the law and could put you in jeopardy with the law. As an abuser, you have to pay attention to that. And as a victim, you also don't feel ashamed, because that's what I see around our community, migration community, that they don't want to use the law. Oh, I don't want to cause a problem for him or her. I don't want him to go to jail. I don't want him. Guess what? If somebody commit the crime, they have to do the time. And by you protecting the abuser, I mean, you're not holding them accountable for what they did. So if you at least hold them accountable, then the county can jump in and force them to take these programs of accountabilities and learning and doing self-regulation and getting help and getting therapy And then maybe they become better
Better
person.
person. Until they don't know their accountability, they will never know.
Yeah, so the
So we
law
are-
helps with that accountability.
Yeah.
Using the law is not, you're not harming them, you're helping them. You're stopping them from harming somebody else too.
And we are going on a positive route by sharing this information so that way that other person can also get help and
Yes.
support.
Yes. So survivor can seek protective orders and interpreter support. But the thing is, what I want to mention about the protective order, you don't have to have a legal case against your abuser to have a protective order. You can get a protective order even if you chose not to seek the person legally. Protective order should protect you from the person contacting you in any form, text messaging, social media abuse.
Exactly.
They cannot do that. They cannot come to your home. They cannot come to the neighborhood. They cannot talk to you or contact you in any form. If they broke the protective order, then there is a legal consequences on
For that person.
Yes. So protective order is very important, and that's most of the time is the first thing we do for survivors when they come and seek help, and that person is actually have full control over them and could cause harm to them. So we do protective order. And there is you don't need, like, you can help to Fairfax County, the second floor, which is the domestic and juvenile domestic relation
JDR.
court. Second floor, you go there, they take and you say, I want to do like the emergency protective order for 3 days, and then they can help for you, file for you for 2 weeks, and then the 2 years protective order. And
So-
yeah.
So I just wanted to wrap this up very, very clearly to our viewer in Nepali community. हाम्रो चाहिँ प्रोटेक्टिभ order भन्ने चिज नि कोही मान्छेले नराम्रो काम गरिरहेको छ भने, डोमेस्टिक भाइलेन्स गरिरहेको छ भने तपाईँलाई जेलमा जानलाई मात्र प्रोटेक्टिभ order क्रिएट गरेको हुँदैन है। तपाईँहरूलाई चाहिँ तपाईँहरूले के विचार गर्नुपर्छ, तपाईँलाई त्यो राउट दिन जानु मन लागेको छैन, केही पनि छैन भने तपाईँ आफूले आफूबाट बस्नको लागि तपाईँले गर्नुभएको छ के भन्दाखेरि सोसियल मिडियामा हरास नगर्ने, तपाईँलाई फोन थ्रेट नगर्ने, तपाईँलाई अब्युज नगर्ने, तपाईँलाई जे मन लाग्यो नबोल्ने, तपाईँलाई पिस अफ माइन्डको लागि प्रोटेक्टिभ order राखिएको, तपाईँलाई जो 3 हप्ता 6 हप्ता कसरी राखिन्छ त्यसपछि यदि उसले प्रोटेक्टिभ orderबाट आफूले आफूलाई नै त्यसबाट पनि नबचाइकन कल्स गर्छ, थ्रेट दिन्छ भने द्याट्स व्हेन इट्स बिकेम लिगल. सो द्याट वे त्यतिखेर पुलिसहरू आउँछन्. सो हामीले बुझ्न एकदमै जरुरी छ यस्तो कुरोहरू. हजुर, थ्याङ्क यू.
Yeah, no problem. So Virginia, WA, what is that? Allows self-petition for abuse of house. So they can do self-petition if they were abused. This is an immigration section. You can allow you to do self-petition. If you came here with your husband and they brought you to the country, then you can do self-petition if in case of abuse, and you can prove that to the immigration law, that you've been a victim of abuse, and you can petition yourself to get your green card. There is organizations that can help you when you reach help. There is organization can help you specifically, like Ayuda and other organizations can help you specifically with your immigration status. So this is laws specifically made to help domestic violence survivors and victims, sexual violence survivors and victims. And U visa and T visa provide protection for victims assisting law enforcement. This is also another visa for people who are assisting with any kind of other cases, like when it comes to like sexual related cases or any kind of domestic related cases or any kind of cases, or also the human trafficking cases. That there is something called U visa and T visa to help them stay in the country. So there is the resources, and that doesn't mean you're gonna get. There is a law that made to protect you. Yeah. How community member can help? We can listen without judgment. I have to move faster, but we have limited time. Share resources privately. We're gonna share resources with you guys. Avoid pressuring survivors to stay or leave. I mentioned that at the beginning. We cannot tell people what to do with their life. We can give them options. They don't know what to choose. Yeah. Promote domestic violence education in the public community and spaces. That was also mentioned and I emphasized. And we can give you guys a resource about how to access those trainings. The resources, we have the Fairfax County Domestic and Sexual Violence Survivors, Fairfax County Community Service Board, National Domestic Violence Hotline, South Asian agencies, SOLS and Manabi, ASHA for women, Saki or Salia. Local Nepali organizations offering language and peace support. All that, like, Extended domestic and sexual violence services, those are the people who offer the training I talk about, which is 16 hours domestic violence training, 16 hours sexual violence training, and they can also come and provide training for the community and can help you have trained educators and people who can, know more information and resources on how to help the community. And they can also do like their crisis intervention, safety planning, shelter information. This is all included. All this valuable information is included in the training. So that's a Fairfax County domestic and sexual violence.
I have a quick question. Are the trainings online or?
There is online, there is in person. There is form of online 2 hours for 2 days a week. And there is 2 days, full 2 days from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. 2 days, because domestic violence 16 hours, sexual violence 16 hours. So you can do them in person or online. Shelters and safe havens, that's, I mentioned Arsenal's house, I mentioned Laura's house, A Way Forward. This is also all this access of shelters and domestic violence shelters. You can access through the hotline, also through any services you get in Fairfax County. They will refer you if they see that you need a shelter you didn't need and you don't have a space to stay and you have to leave. There's a certain criteria. They do a lethality assessment where they determine that if you really need the shelters. Sometimes I don't know if you guys have local shelters or not. Okay, so that's at the government shelter.
So we always go to the shelter there.
Yeah. Some communities have also like private shelters that for people if they don't fit the criteria for the government shelter, because there is a criteria, you have to be in a tourist fund if you don't have housing, so it can be provided or maybe placed on those shelters. Mental health support through Fairfax County community, I spoke about that. There is the CSB, which is the Community Service Board around. There is one in Chantilly next year, called Chantilly CSB. It could have a group, individual counseling, youth younger than 18. They have that also. And they can do like assessment to actually help you with other resources if you're not qualified to stay with them for therapy. There is many other organizations also like the women organization, which is they also help with providing like walk-in, the Sharon Bolova Center of Community Health provide walk-in hours for screening and assessment. All of those spaces, they help with walk-in evaluation. They help you get evaluation and then they help you determine if you need, what kind of services you need. If you're struggling with substance abuse, if you have a mental issue, if you need to be hospitalized or you just need outpatient services. Here we can. How to access services, there is a hotline for Fairfax County, the domestic violence hotline. That's different than the national hotline. National hotline for everyone, this is for Fairfax County. The DVAC, which is the main line, the DVAC is actually the victim support, okay? So they provide, the DVAC provide, you can make an appointment, you can call and make an appointment and go have a talk with them. They can provide, they do assessment face-to-face instead of the phone, and they can determine how they can help you with everything and how they give you options, how you can walk through this, how you can get out, and then they help you make a safety plan and they help you go through all the procedures. If you need support legally, if you need support with housing, if you need support with food, if you need support with childcare, if you need support with jobs, DVAC is helping with all of this. They connect you with the resources. The Artemis House is actually for that, for the shopping. Next. Any questions? I try to make it like people ask questions at the same time while we're doing it, so people won't forget what they want to talk about, and to be engaged in an interactive conversation instead of me sitting here and talk. But it helps, I think, when people participate and ask questions at the same time, it helps the information sink in and help people like relate to matters in day-to-day life. Any other questions other than the one asked during? Yeah.
I did not study, I didn't have my schooling there, so I was curious if all the awareness related information is provided to students in schools so that while growing up they're already aware of.
Oh, yeah. They do actually. Here, when you go to school for Fairfax, that's a good point. I was talking to about it. The school provides something called FLE classes. FLE teaches you about not just your like human sexuality and growing up and all this. It also teaches you about safe living and about domestic violence, about intimate violent partners, about like appropriate touch and inappropriate touch. And I encourage parents to look at these programs in school. A lot of immigrants, they're afraid of a lot of sexual orientation in the United States, and they just cut off their kids from learning this. But I suggest for you, perhaps you can opt out of some lessons if you feel like it's inappropriate for your culture. You can opt out. They give you now, it's easier, it's even online. Either you go to school in the open house and you like say, okay, I want to opt out of all this information. I don't want my kids to access certain information. But if you looked at the other programs, it's really important because it talks to your children about all of these things. Talk about relation and depending on their age too. Start like they give it to them where elementary school curriculum is different than middle school curriculum, different than high school.
Also, this is super random, but if you're ever like, if you or someone you know is out with someone that is not safe or you don't feel safe, and you've reached a point where you're like, I need to get help. I know some restaurants and bars, if you ask for an angel shot, it typically is a coded way to tell the person, the bartender, the server, like, I don't feel safe, I need to get help. And they will help you get out of the situation that you're in. That's like a small thing, but if you're on a date, you're with someone that you're not married to or whatever, but you don't feel safe, you can always request that. There's like a lot of coded things that I think the county does a good job of like trying to, even if you don't go to school, there's other things you can do.
And you can always, if you're in immediate imminent danger, you have to call 911.
Also true, yeah.
Yeah, if you're in imminent immediate danger, you don't wait for this hotline, whatever, you just call 911 and you have to mention you're in immediate imminent danger, and you have to make sure you are in a place that's safe from that person while you make that call. Yeah? Because if you're in imminent danger, you have to get the help right away, and the person has to call, because in many cases that in the heat of the, they were talking and issue happening and then they get strangled or the person have a gun or having a weapon is just escalate the problem to the highest level. If there is any form of abuse in the home and that abuser will have a gun or have access to a weapon, that's automatically make it a very severe case, because that's one of the lethality assessment we do. We ask if that user have access to a weapon. Yeah, so you know if you're in that situation and then the person feel like they're in imminent danger and they needed help immediately, they have to call 911. Any other questions?
That's it. I think I'm going to ask Igor to say some few words from there, so that way. Thank you so much for coming in and then briefing all the details. This is phenomenal. There's so much educational for all of us. We may think we know, but we don't know half of the things. Also, it's nice to have a detail on it, so that way we have every aspect that we have been educated ourselves, as well as to the others and viewers. So that goes hand in hand. And I have always been working with Fairfax County for past 25 years, so I am honored to be part of the family. So I always try to bring them in, and I always try to utilize everything that we can get out of it, because we are in county. So we should be utilizing our resources. And a lot of people get afraid to ask. It's okay to ask. It's not a big deal to ask. And if they don't have it, they will say no. But they will always route us on the right way. And each county has everything. So I am very, very happy to be part of the API community. I'm very happy to be part of the county. So here you go, all you.
Well, before I begin, I wanted to, if we could give another round of applause for
Yes.
Thank you so much. Really briefly, just from the county, firstly, thank you so much, Tender Hearts, and thank you so much, Verizon and Bill, for working together to bring this training to you all. We know what a huge issue this is, and we know that domestic violence doesn't just affect individuals, it affects families, it affects communities. So I just wanted to say, again, I appreciate the opportunity for us to come together as a community to have these kind of
discussions in a safe space. And just know the county is here to support you all. Thank you so much, Soraya, for listing all of the resources that we had. Feel free to connect with Mariama, who is incredible, who's part of our team at that county, if you have any questions about the resources. But again, thank you. Once again, thank you all for allowing us to be a part of this space. And we hope that we can do more of these kinds of trainings, because as Soraya was saying, that when we talk about it more, it becomes less of a stigma, right? So hopefully we can do more trainings, and hopefully we'll see you all at those trainings. And thank you again. Thanks so much.